Let's try that again. Hey guys, I hope you're having a great day on today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. You might forget there's a Fallout TV series coming with Walton Goggins, and the first bunch of images have come out and they look pretty damn good. Also, you know those rumors that they're getting the original Avengers back for the MCU? Well, Chris Evans has responded to it, and it wasn't exactly a denial. Percy Jackson, the upcoming series on Disney Plus, well, you know they dropped the first trailer a little bit ago. Well, it's breaking some records. It's got over 84 million views of it. Are we selling it short? We're going to talk about that. Also, Aquaman 2, its box office projections are now out, and they're not looking good. There's a rumor going around that Marvel is looking at doing a Scarlet Witch film with the creator of WandaVision probably writing and directing it. Timothy Olyphant has joined the Aliens TV series that's coming up, and Avengers Kang Dynasty, if it indeed keeps that name, has a brand new creator and writer. We're going to talk about that and a whole bunch more. The John Campea Show podcast starts right now. Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming to you from right here in our quaint little studio, brought to you in part by our friends at Mint Mobile. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news, TV and streaming, all sorts of good stuff. Not just giving you our opinions, but giving you some background and some context so you guys can form your own well-informed opinions, whether they're the same or a little bit different than ours. Joining me in studio today, we got Ray Ora.
Hey, hey, hey.
Jonathan Voico's here.
What's up, guys?
The delightful Chris Carr.
Hey, everybody.
And most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here and making the show part of your day. And here's how the show is going to go. We're going to start off by talking about that long list of topics that we just ran down. And then in the last part of the show, we're going to take your live questions. Now, we've already asked our YouTube channel members earlier today to submit some topics, but also if you guys are watching live and you have a thought, theory, question, or opinion and like us to address it on the show, as long as it's appropriate, go ahead and use the super chat feature and we'll get to those at the end of the program. All right. Now, before we jump into the topics, Ray, you got something?
Yeah, I got an update on
my God.
I got my Godzilla
Wait,
minus one
we
update.
need a breaking news theme. Like,
Minus one, 100% still holding 21 reviews.
oh, because yesterday was what, 14?
It was 16.
16 reviews?
We watched it go from 9, 15, 16, 21. So tomorrow,
25% improvement.
And
Come
it's
on,
still
man.
holding 100%.
Hype.
And we're seeing it when? We're seeing it in like 3 days.
Thursday at 5.
Thursday at 5. We're going to go see Godzilla minus one. It's a good time to be a Godzilla fan. Monarch's so good. Minus one is getting 100% reviews. So we'll see how that turns out. All right. Now, before we get into our topics, I want to give you guys an update. Yesterday, we announced the official launch of our 2023 Adopt a Family campaign. You guys know we do this every year. You guys have participated and really just made an incredible impact on a couple of families that really needed it and really deserved it. This year's family is no different. We told you it's a single mom of 3 who has 3 kids, young kids, had to get out of her marriage because the last beating her husband gave to her put her in a coma and caused her to miscarriage. And so they've escaped and relocated to California. And we, you guys and us, are going to give them the surprise of a lifetime. We're going to give them a hell of a Christmas. Anyway, yesterday we announced to you guys that we put up the Amazon wish list. If you guys wanted to contribute, we shared the link. The link is right near the top of the description down below the video if you want to get something to help this family out. But here's the thing. We put up that list yesterday. And already, I'm going to take a look at this. These are not the things you can buy. These are the things you guys have already bought. You guys got all this stuff for this family, over 125 things already in one day.
Damn, guys.
Including the PlayStation 5.
Oh, shit.
Somebody, one of you guys, one of you fucking angels, bought these kids a PlayStation 5.
That's the technical term for it.
So that is actually the theological term for it, by the way. I went to seminary. So that's all good now, but there are still things to get. If you go and look at the list now, there's a thing about 8 things, and I can't get the list to come up, unfortunately. Yeah, so that screen's frozen. Anyway, we can get off that screen, Jonathan.
All right.
So I don't know why this thing is frozen. Anyway, there's still about 8 or 9 things that are still there to get if you want to help out, including still We put a bunch of Visa gift cards on there, like $25 Visa gift cards. There's still a bunch of those if you guys want to get 1 or 2 of those for the family, or 5 or 6 or whatever. There's also Amazon gift cards. So there's still a whole ton of those. You guys, I think we set it at $10 for an Amazon gift card. If you guys want to go in and buy 1 or 2 or 3 or 10 of those or whatever and contribute, at this rate, the whole damn thing's going to be sold out in the next day or 2, which is just awesome. Yeah, I'll keep you guys updated with all that. So just a moment to say thank you to everybody for once again rising up to it and answering the call and contributing in that way. And thank you guys so much for that. And I will keep you updated in the days to come. All right. With that down, guys, let's jump into it here, shall we? And let's talk about this. In the world of video game adaptations coming to the screen, there has always been 3 rules in life, right? In 3 certainties, they call it. Death, taxes, and video game adaptations suck. And for many decades, that adage has held very, very sadly true. I thought it was going to break when Warcraft and Assassin's Creed were coming out. And I didn't mind Warcraft myself, but I know it didn't live up to the promise a lot of people and Assassin's Creed just sucked. But lately we've been getting some, well, honestly, some pretty good stuff. Highlighted, of course, by Last of Us. Sonic was pretty solid. Ray, if you asked Ray, Uncharted was great. So, so we've got some, it's been turning it around, right? Well, we got a number of other things coming. But one of the things that got a lot of people excited is Fallout. And Fallout, they just put out the first bunch of images. Now, this comes to us from Variety, who wrote the following. The Fallout TV series coming to Amazon Prime's Video has unveiled its first look images. Based on the popular video game franchise of the same name, the series is due to debut on Prime Video on April 12th, 2024. So still a little ways off. The cast of the series includes Ella Purnell, Walton Goggins, Kyle MacLachlan, I don't know how to pronounce this, Zelia Mendez-Jones, and Aaron Moten. Now, if you recognize Ella's name, she's the voice of Jinx in the greatest animated show of all time, Arcane. She was also in Yellow Jackets. A lot of people loved her in that, so she's going to be there. And, of course, you got the great Walton Goggins going to be there. So let's take a look at some of these images here. I got to tell you what, this is maybe the only major video game franchise that I've never touched. I've never actually touched a Fallout game, but I know it's insanely popular. I know Dennis Zen loves this franchise. He loves this franchise. But I think that's our first look at Walton. I think that's Walton Goggins. There's Ghoul.
Because over Ella is Kyle MacLachlan playing her father.
And the armor looks
power armor.
I mean, I've never played it, but I've seen a lot, and it looks so right on. The costuming looks great.
Set design is on point.
What's that?
Set design is on point.
Oh, yeah. That's something somebody else mentioned to me, that the set design looks great.
Yeah.
And now, granted, these are only still images,
right?
But it doesn't look like they cheaped out on production design at all.
That's the Pridwin. That's the name. The Pridwin is the name of that ship.
Right. By the way, the only person in this room who's played Fallout is Jonathan. So he's going to have most of our commentary. What are the other images we got here?
All right. So up next, we got some more power armor. This shot of the power armor in the Brotherhood of Steel looks awesome.
That awesome.
Gun that's a assault rifle. It's right out of the game.
Oh, that gun itself is right out of the game. It looks great.
It gives me like Warhammer vibes a little bit.
The
armor.
That armor does have a little bit of Space Marine vibe to it. Sure. Yeah, I get that.
She's coming out. Looks like, this kind of gives you a little bit of the Last of Us feel, where everything just went to hell, except instead of a plague, we got hit with a nuclear holocaust.
But even just this shot right here, the framing of the shots just looks, I know it's an overused and misused word a lot, but it looks cinematic.
Yeah. I think it's a close-up. He's a ghoul.
Yeah, there he is.
These are people who survived. These are people who survived the nuclear holocaust. They were given like very extended, like hundreds of years of life from the radiation, but it also destroyed their face and everything. So they're called ghouls. And then there's feral ghouls. If they've gone too far, they've lost their mind and they've gone feral. So but these people are like, they're like normal people.
And are feral ghouls kind of like clickers in Last of Us?
A little bit. Yeah.
That makes sense. Anyway, all I know is that actually, I shouldn't say I've never touched it. there was that mobile game about the bunkers.
Oh, yeah.
I played that a little bit. I mean, obviously that's very different from the regular game.
Fallout
and everything
Shelter,
like that.
I think it was called.
Fallout Shelter. It's exactly what it was called. But this is one people have been excited about. I think the images look great. It's rare that just production images will get me excited about a project.
So
This has done it. I can't wait to see this.
I got a question for Jonathan. So this is set in like a post-apocalyptic.
So
like, nuclear-
basically, the way it is everything in our history was the same up till the end of World War II. And then in this world, it's like they went above and beyond like accepting nuclear energy into everything. And everything kind of had right up until 2077 when the bombs dropped. It was a war between United States and China, maybe even Russia. Everything was like nuclear powered cars, everything. So it's almost like a 1950s stylized look, but in some ways they're like behind in our tech, but in some ways they're advanced in our tech because they adopted nuclear energy into everything.
Okay.
So it's weird. It's like imagine the future, but it still kind of looks 50s style. But now it's all smashed to hell because nuclear holocaust.
But I'm trying to get, is it a survival game?
Yes.
Are you just going around just trying to survive? Is there someone
it depends
after you?
because like this last one, you're trying to find your son.
Oh, okay.
And then there's different storylines with
Okay.
this. So
but
this
it's just
won't
a
necessarily-
world. They just create this world that they
Yeah.
can tell a lot of different games and a lot
Exactly.
of different
Okay,
stories
okay.
in it.
within the world.
Chris, you've not played this game?
I haven't. My friend Peter is obsessed with this game, though. So I know some of the iconography and like the scorched earth kind of plague stuff going on in it. The Vanity Fair article, I've got to say, does have me really excited about it. Just because everything that Nolan talks about in this article is just really intriguing to me. Obviously, Westworld kind of petered off for some of us towards the end there, but he definitely has a good grasp on these kind of post-apocalyptic, what happens with technology kind of stories, and a whole bunch of the stuff in here where he talks about levying the very stylized violence with a kind of winky sense of humor. I'm very excited about. And I did want to talk to Jonathan about this too, because he likens the ghoul to Virgil in Dante's Inferno, as someone who's escaped a hellish landscape but is there to be your guide still.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a weird turn, especially when you think of just like a video game adaptation. We don't think about equating it often to stuff like that.
Yeah.
Is that
for sure.
accurate,
I mean,
though?
and because they've lived for hundreds of years, you know what I mean? They've got a lot of wisdom.
Well,
They
I'll
knew the world before.
That makes sense.
I'll tell you this: if this can knock it out of the park, and that's a big if.
Yeah.
That's a huge if. But if this can knock it out of the park, and then if their God of War series can knock it out of the park. Like a lot of people have been asking me because last was, okay, are we ready to say it's now the age of video game adaptations? It's like, nah. Like, because right now video game adaptations are like 3 and 107.
Yeah.
Right? That's a very bad win-loss record. But we're on a little bit of a roll right now. Again, if this can be great, and then if they can get God of War, because that one's coming too, if they can get that one and nail that one, we might be in a whole new era.
I'd love
Oh.
I'd love to see them go after like Elder Scrolls lore.
Ooh,
you know?
I'd
that
like
would
to
be
see them
fun.
take another shot at Warcraft.
Oh.
All due respect to what Duncan Jones did with that first, because that was not an easy undertaking.
Nope.
But I would love to see somebody take another shot at Warcraft. I think that could be a lot of fun. Anyway, guys, with that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You guys know there have been some rumors and reports going around that Marvel is looking at maybe getting the original OG Avengers back together, whether it would be for Secret Wars or something that comes after that, what have you. Well, Chris Evans, of course, has been playing Steve Rogers, Captain America, and there's been a lot of talk about whether or not he'll be back. He'll be back, by the way, but a lot of talk about whether or not he'll be back. And this whole report about him coming back with the originals was brought up during a recent interview. I think he was doing what's that morning show called The View? I think he was being interviewed on The View. And they straight up asked him about that. And again, his answer was, in very typical Chris Evans fashion, very diplomatic, but certainly not a denial. This comes to us from the folks over at The Wrap who wrote the following. The Captain America actor appeared on The View Monday morning in partnership with pet food company Jinx, and when asked directly about the idea of returning with his former co-stars, he had a laugh at how often that idea seems to spread around. You know, I always see those reports too, and it's news to me, Evans said. I think every couple of months someone says that they're getting Downey and Hemsworth and Scarlet, and everyone's coming back. But as always, Evans noted that Steve Rogers is a character he holds dear in his heart and that he's not closed off to the idea of returning, but would only do it for the right story. No one has spoken to me about it. Lies. Evans said. And look, I would never say never, but I'm very protective. It's a very precious role to me, so it would have to be just right. Okay, now look. This is not Chris Evans basically confirming that he's coming back. Obviously, it's not. But all you got to say, if it ain't true, is, yeah, that's not true. All you got to say is those reports are false. All you got to say is that is not happening. But every time this question, particularly recently, every time this question has been brought up, Chris Evans, and by the way, do not take this as a negative. I am praising the man. He is able to dance around the question with the skill and deftness of a seasoned international diplomat that at the end of the day never answers the question. Is this report true? All he had to say was nope. But instead he pulls what all the actors now say when they're asked about a rumor. They say the same thing now. I haven't heard that. Or I don't know anything about that. That's not no. Yep. I haven't heard anything about that. So are you saying no? I haven't heard anything about it. So I just find it very interesting that, again, he does not deny it. He didn't confirm it either. Don't misinterpret me. I know he didn't confirm it. I'm just pointing out he didn't exactly deny it. And then once again went back to the thing about it would have to be just right. Well, of course it would have to be just right.
He's the Fred Astaire of press junkets.
That's right. He's dancing around those rain and rumors. So do I think does this make me believe even more that he is indeed coming back? Not necessarily, but I already believe it pretty solidly anyway. Anyway, Chris, you heard Chris's comments. What do you think?
I love that we're kind of playing by fart rules here. Whoever denied it may have supplied it. I don't know. Maybe Chris started this rumor.
By fart rules.
Maybe that's it. I think he's handling this very diplomatically. And if he just says, no, that's not true, it's a very short and boring interview, John.
That's true.
You got to dance a little. You got to stretch, you know? You could just say no, though. You could. I understand that point. I think this is a very good way to handle this, though, too, just to keep his relationship with Marvel really great as well, and let them know that he is interested, barring that the script is excellent. And I do think that's the big thing to hang on to here is that he always brings this up. This is such a precious character to me. This is such an important character to me. Because not only did this really ultimately launch his career to where it is now, it also set him off on this path of, doing a lot of political news coverage and things like that, too. He started trying to work on news organizations that would present fair and balanced things, for lack of a better phrase, since that's trademarked. But it really set him off on a specific path in his life. And so he's very intrinsically tied to this character. So I definitely think that he is playing the cards close to the chest when it comes to what he is willing to do in regards to this role, because he left such a great legacy and he had such a wonderful ending in this role. Some things need to end sometimes. Sometimes things need to be done and stories need to be closed. It would have to be a hell of a story. What do you mean, no?
No, nothing should ever end, ever.
See, I think I've always thought there's a very distinct reason why Captain America, Steve Rogers, never died in the movies. Mm-hmm. As far as we know, he's still living on the moon. In that, but he did kind of point out one thing a while ago, and talking about the terms in which he would come back. Remember there was an interview he did about a month or two ago. It might have been 3 or 4 months ago. I think Rob and I were talking about it, but he was basically saying, if I were to come back, it wouldn't be as a variant of Steve Rogers or some other dimension. You have to honor the legacy of this character. It would have to be the character itself. So there's that. And here's the other thing. What a lot of people will bring up is that, and he's brought this up too, is that there's a lot of things he wants to do, right? He's getting into directing. He wants to produce. He still wants to act very much. But I would propose that it would be to his advantage to continue or to come back as Steve Rogers and do like 3 or 4 projects over the next 10 years. Chris is now in his 40s. He could easily stay in this shape for another decade, no problem. Do 3 or 4 projects over the next 10 years. So do 1 Marvel project, and then do 2 of your projects. But as long as you're still Captain America, you're going to have all the doors open to you, right? The longer you go not being Captain America, I think, the longer you've been away from that stage, the longer you've been away from the brightest spotlight that there is, I think it will make it, not that he can't do the other stuff that he likes, I just think it'll make doing the other stuff he wants to do a lot easier and have a lot more opportunities available to him if every 2 to 3 years he's still picking up the shield, that sort of thing. So I don't know. I just thought it was a very well said non-denial in his stuff, but everybody's going to interpret it differently, and we'll see what actually comes out of that. All right. With that down, guys, let's move on to this, shall we? A bunch of years ago, I think it was 2010, that the first Percy Jackson movie came out. Obviously, it was a book series, very popular book series with a lot of people. The movies came out. I actually really enjoyed the movies. The first one more than the second one. I think the first one was called The Lightning Thief, and I think the second was called Sea of Monsters. Now, they weren't exactly box office behemoths, right? The first one, I think, made somewhere in the neighborhood of 220 million, I think. And then I think the second one made less. Like, it didn't quite crack 200, got close to 200 million, didn't quite crack it. So it's not like they were giant successes, but they have been wanting to get back to Percy Jackson for a while. And now we've got the new Disney Plus series coming. And I'll be honest with you, I think I miscalculated, because I've been interested in, I think the trailer looks good. I was taken with the trailer. I love Walker Scobell.
He's great.
This kid is going to be a superstar. I'm telling you. I love this kid. As our new Percy. So yeah, I've been interested in it, but I'll be honest with you. I didn't think anybody else cared. I really did. I haven't felt a lot of buzz from a lot of people. And I honestly looked at it and thought, I'm interested in this, but I don't think a lot of other people are going to be interested. Well, I think I was wrong. Because according to Deadline, a hell of a lot of people are interested. Deadline writes, Disney Plus is getting strong response to the trailer for its upcoming series, Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Within 10 days of the trailer's November 16th release, it has garnered 126.5 million impressions, 84.3 million video views, and 1.8 million engagements across Percy Jackson series, Disney Plus, and talent accounts. Percy Jackson from the 20th century and Disney branded television ranked number 2 for video views across Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok for all competitive streaming programs, according to Listen First. Additionally, the hashtag Percy Jackson has amassed 45 million views on TikTok in the US within the last 7 days. All right. Does any of this mean the show is going to be good? No, but it does mean that people are interested and people are clicking, and people with the engagements numbers, people are talking about it. And I think at a much greater click than I'd given it credit for, which makes me have to ask the question, have we been selling this series coming out on Disney Plus, who don't have a great track record of making great original shows, but with this thing coming out on Disney Plus, have we been selling short what its potential actually is? Does this thing have the potential to get, Loki kind of numbers? Does this thing have the potential to get WandaVision or Mandalorian kind of numbers? Yesterday, I would have said not a chance in hell. Today, I got to wonder, were we wrong about that? Is it itself have that a bigger upside and potential than we maybe thought? Chris, when I saw these numbers, I'll be honest, I was really surprised to see these. Were you surprised? Have we been selling the potential short? Where do you sense people's anticipation level is for this series?
I feel like this makes sense for this series, more so than those movies. We have the absolute blessing of the author. These books have sold over 180 million copies worldwide. They've been translated to over 37 languages. People love this series. And you have an incredibly talented young actor in your title role. You've got some really fun adult actors in here, too. Or grown-up actors, I should say, not adult actors. Those are very different. You've got a great cast. Whew, I mean, the Edge is in there, but rated X star.
Yeah,
but I think it looks really, really well done. I think it looks like it's going to be a very, very epic show that isn't just a a kidified version of Olympians. There seems like there's real danger. It seems like a show that you could watch with your entire family too. I think it's got a lot of potential here. I think a lot of people are really excited for something like this that they can watch with their kids or they can watch with their teens. I think this makes a lot of sense to have so many people tuning in. When this trailer popped up in Wish, I was excited about it. It looks fantastic. I want to see it.
Yeah, I think it's got a lot of potential. You know what? Somebody wrote in yesterday. I was doing my open mic yesterday, and somebody wrote in and said, a really interesting comment. They said, you know, maybe the original movies had it right when they aged up the characters a little bit, because I guess in the movies, they were a little bit older than what they're supposed to be in the books. Whereas in this, it looks like they're a little bit more age appropriate to what they're supposed to be in the books. From what I understand, I never read the books, but from what I understand people saying. And the viewer said to me, maybe they were right to age them up, because looking at kids that age running around with swords look kind of silly to me. And what I said in response was, I get where you're coming from, but here's why it's working okay in my head. These are demigods. These aren't regular kids. You know, and I compare it to, you know, the comparison that often comes up whenever I bring up or talk about Robin, particularly the traditional 13-year-old Robin running around with a stick, Batman bringing him into fights with mobsters with machine guns. And then inevitably someone will bring up, well, John, you're okay with Spider-Man fighting crime, and Spider-Man's like a high school student. I'm like, yeah, because Spider-Man is a god. Spider-Man can lift 5 tanks over his head, has superhuman speed, strength, reflexes, and magical spider sense. He's a god. Robin's a kid with a stick. And so that kind of same thing comes to me when I look at at least the trailers for Percy Jackson. It's somewhere in my brain, it's connected to that. These are not regular kids. These are the offspring of gods. Mm-hmm. And therefore, I'm kind of okay with them running around with swords and stuff like that.
It's also a really easy way to immediately ingratiate your audience to your characters, though. They're children in actual violent danger. They're children who are being hunted down and hit with swords and bleeding in front of you. Stephen King does this all the time, and it's very effective, right? You see a kid in danger, and you immediately are going to go, oh no, that poor baby, even if they are a demigod. So it's a smart thing to do, I think. And then they can age into the roles. They're going to grow like weeds. Look at the Stranger Things cast. They're all like 40 now. Yeah. Give them time.
One's applying for AARP at this point. Yeah, I mean, if the show's successful, and apparently kind of looks like it is. Question is, are you guys looking forward to this? Are you one of the people who has kind of secretly been excited about it? It sounds like more people looking forward to it than I thought.
I'm all like,
oh, I'm secretly excited about this.
All right. With that down, guys, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, you can hear the toll is ringing. The end of the DCEU is almost at hand with the final installment of the cinematic universe for DC with Aquaman 2, Reign of the Fish People. I can't remember.
I think that's it.
What's it called again?
Songs of Fish and Water Snakes.
Songs of Fish and Barnacles.
Yeah.
Aquaman, what is it again?
The Lost Kingdom.
The Lost Kingdom. That's what it is. I just call it Aquaman 2. Well, Aquaman 2 is on its
there you go.
way out. And I quite enjoyed the first Aquaman. And it was a wild success. I knew Aquaman was going to make money, right? But I didn't think it would make $800 million, let alone $1.1 billion. The only DCEU film to crack the $1 billion mark. That's it. That was all the way back in 2018, and not a single DCEU movie has managed to crack $400 million since. But that's where we're at. Well, how is this film going to do? Well, the reports have now come out that the long-range projections, box office projections for Aquaman 2, The Lost Kingdom, have now come out, and they don't look great. This comes to us from Coming Soon, who writes, Aquaman and The Lost Kingdom is set to release next month, and according to early box office projections, it won't be making a huge splash at the theaters. Slow clap.
Give it up.
According to Box Office Pro's latest projections, the upcoming DC Studios film is tracking to make anywhere from $32 to $42 million during its opening weekend. In total, the Aquaman sequel is tracking for a domestic total run of $105 to $168 million. Now, if we want to take those numbers and maybe do a little bit of comparison, as to, well, how would that measure up to what we've had in there so far? Let's jump into the classroom for a second. So if we average out that thing anywhere between 32, okay, so let's say 37 million, somewhere in the middle, right? That Aquaman 2 opens 37 million according to projections. How does that compare? Well, Flash, in a recent DC release, opened to $55 million, and it ended up only making a grand total worldwide of $270 million. Blue Beetle opened to 25 million and made a one of the biggest flops in comic book movie history, a grand total of $129 million. Now, the first Aquaman movie opened to $68 million, but had incredible legs. It went on to make 1.1 billion. Now, normally a film that goes on to make $1 billion does not open with 68 million. And that was a decent opening. It was a good opening, but I mean, that's not the opening for $1 billion film. It just had incredible legs, kept going and going and going. People went to go back to see it, and because it deserved it. It was a really good, fun little movie. I don't think the best of the DCU movies, but it was fun. It was visually stunning. It just had a lot going for it, and people had a good time watching it. Well, now they're saying it's going to have less than half of what that opening weekend box office was. So is this a situation where it could pull a Elemental that opened low, but because it was so good and people kept going back and bringing other people and word of mouth spread about it, that it went on to basically make $500 million, even though it opened really low? Could that happen with Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom? I can't answer that because I haven't seen the movie yet. We've heard some concerning things about its possible quality, but I haven't spoken to anybody who's seen footage of it. I haven't seen the film myself, so I can't say. But if Aquaman 2 can deliver the same kind of experience that the first Aquaman did, then even if it opens really low at 37 million, which again is more of a reflection on the fact that something we've been saying for the last couple of years, the audience has abandoned the DCEU and they're ready to move on. But if the movie's really great, it ain't going to get to $1 billion, but maybe you can get to the halfway mark. Maybe you can get to 500 million. Maybe it can be the first DCEU film in 5 years to crack that $400 million mark. As of right now, it's not projected to do it. But again, that'll come down to all about how good is the movie. And that is just not an answer we have right now. Anyway, Chris, you're seeing these early box office projections now. 37 million is better than Blue Beetle.
That's fair.
But significantly less than what the first one opened to. What do you think about it? Should they be worried? The first one only made 68 opening weekend, but still went on to make $1 billion. What do you think is lying ahead for Aquaman right now?
I mean, tracking behind Black Adam projections is a really big bummer. This one. I think this goes back to audiences saying, oh, do I need to see this? Can I go wait to see it till it's on streaming? I can go watch this on Max later. Because, again, we know that the DCEU is ending. And that's something that I do think that common moviegoers now, your general moviegoing audience, knows that Jason Momoa, this is like the last time he's Aquaman. So, I don't know, maybe I'll see it, maybe I won't. You have the TMZ crowd, too, who's, what's the deal with Amber Heard in here? I don't know if I'm going to see it because I don't support her, or I'm definitely going to see it because I'm going to support her. There's a whole bunch of other kind of nonsense thrown into this. But you do have P. Willie in there. P. Willie's going to put butts in seats.
Yeah, he is.
He's great. Love Patrick Wilson. He was so committed in that horrible Moon movie. Oh my gosh.
He tried his best.
Don't you say horrible with Moon in the same sentence, okay?
What was that?
They
what was
did.
The movie?
They did. What was the name of it?
Moon over Miami or something like that?
Moon over
Miami.
That's what it was. I just, even my husband is a diehard Aquaman fan. He loves these movies. He freaks out every time he sees the trailers. He loves everything. And even this one, he's been like, we can see it if we've got the time.
Logan, to me, seems like he's, why am I just blanking all of a sudden? A Ringo Starr. He's like the best Beatles Ringo Starr.
Oh, he's the useless Beetle?
No, the best Beatle.
Oh, okay, I stand corrected.
To Logan, he's the best Beatle is Ringo Starr.
I see what you're saying.
No, but that would make sense for everything about
else, you know what I mean?
He just loves everything so gosh dang much. He and Ray have so much in common of just like,
yeah, we like everything.
We like this stuff, and people tried real hard.
Yeah.
And I love
Gosh
that.
darn, they tried their best.
You know what
Yeah.
the trailer has been missing for me? Like,
More
remember
topo.
when we heard that there was a trench movie?
Yeah,
in the works?
James Wan was
That
developing
darker-
about the trench. Yeah.
I don't know about anyone else, but I'm terrified of the ocean. But I'll watch movies with it. Like, they should have maybe played in a little bit more to that. I know everyone got tired of the darker DCEU with Zack Snyder's take on it, but that was something that was really interesting. Like from the first movie, I was like, where are these
I was
creatures
interested
coming
in the
from?
trench project. I was interested.
If they could have spun it, because what I see from the trailers is we're getting a lot of the same from the first, right? The atmosphere, this and that. Maybe they polished it a little bit. We have the same characters. Maybe if they spun it a little bit, more of the horror, like James Wan was talking about that show, maybe we got a different take. Maybe it would got more people interested in it. I don't know.
At the risk of being incredibly hypocritical here, I know certain movies I've seen trailers and gone, I don't know what this movie's about. There's not enough information here for me to decide if I want to see this. This is one of those trailers where I've seen the trailer and went, oh, all of that narrative backstory you just gave me told me the entire movie. And
We think, right? We don't know. Maybe it didn't.
Yeah,
once
but
we
that's
see
what it feels like of just, so it's another, like, there's some mystical object, somebody now has great power and we have to destroy it. And as long as it's told well, that's cool.
But he's a dad now.
And you know what?
I know I look like somebody who would love to look at baby photos. Let me assure you, I am not.
By the way,
I don't like them.
Ray brought up the greatest thing that whenever Aquaman 2 comes up, it's the only thing I think of. In the first teaser that came out, Arthur is like at home, he's doing home stuff, and there's laundry out, and he's got his Aquaman suit.
Right.
Why are they on the
It's like,
drying line?
why are you drying the Aquaman
That was
suit?
me.
It's meant to be in
That
the
was
ocean.
me.
That's her.
I get me and Ray confused too, though. That's okay.
Salt water's corroding.
You know what was impressive?
Fair, actually, that's the only good point.
What was impressive about the first film is a lot of these billion-dollar films, like the Avengers Endgame, whatever, Infinity War, we saw multiple times. Aquaman, I only saw once. So I'm very impressed by it making $1 billion. There's like a couple movies that we see multiple times, and then they
it gets
make
to
$1 billion.
yeah.
Barbie, Aquaman, they only needed one viewing for me to hit $1 billion at least.
Well, a lot of billion-dollar films never got a single viewing from you, so
Yeah.
so
true.
they're able to hang out there. All right,
You're right.
guys, with
point.
that down, we still got to talk about. There's a rumor that there's going to be a Scarlet Witch movie. I thought she was walking away. Also, Timothy Olyphant has joined the upcoming Alien series, and Avengers Kang Dynasty now has a new writer. It's the same writer who's writing Secret Wars, I should say. We're going to talk about that and a whole bunch more. But before we get to it, we're going to take just a moment here and thank a couple of sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at Rocket Money and MasterClass. We want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's episode, Rocket Money. Do you struggle to save money every month? With Rocket Money, you can quickly identify all those sneaky subscriptions that keep charging you month after month and cancel any you no longer use. For example, did you know that over 80% of people have subscriptions that they've completely forgotten about? It's too easy to subscribe to a free trial of something and then completely forget about it once you stop using it. That's why I'm such a big fan of Rocket Money. I've told you guys before that when I started using Rocket Money, I realized that I was still subscribed to a gym in another city I had moved away from 2 years ago. Also, my music service? Yeah, I found out I was still subscribed to 2 others. How much do you think you're paying a month on subscriptions? Most people think they're paying $80 a month, but they're actually paying closer to $200. That's why I use Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. With Rocket Money, you can easily cancel the ones you don't want with just the press of a button. With over 5 million users and counting, Rocket Money has helped save its customers on an average of $720 a year and $1 billion in total savings so far. So stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and manage your money the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/Campea. That's rocketmoney.com/Campea. rocketmoney.com/Campea. We want to take a moment and thank the sponsor of this video, MasterClass. Guys, as a small business owner, I am finding myself having to be in negotiations all the time, whether it's with new contractors, vendors, or even agencies that represent our company. Now, I don't like to go into these negotiations unarmed, so I found the perfect class on MasterClass, The Art of Negotiation by Chris Voss, a real-life former FBI lead hostage negotiator. Taking this class on MasterClass made me feel a lot more equipped and confident going into all these various negotiations
obligations I have to do on a regular basis. With MasterClass, you can learn from the best to become your best anytime, anywhere, and at your own pace. An annual membership starts at just $10 a month, and you get unlimited access to every instructor, thousands of online lessons, exclusive content, insight, and much more. There are over 180 classes to pick from, everything from filmmaking with Martin Scorsese all the way to cooking with the great Gordon Ramsay. In MasterClass, you will find practical lessons that you can apply to your life and work. So guys, get unlimited access to every class, and right now, as a John Campea Show listener, you can get 15% off when you go to masterclass.com/Campea. That's masterclass.com/Campea for 15% off an annual membership. masterclass.com/Campea.
And thank you to our friends at Rocket Money and MasterClass for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's get on to this, shall we? You know, there have been a lot of reports and stories going around about Scarlett Johansson, about Elizabeth
Jowish.
Olsen. There have been a lot of things about Scarlett Johansson, but about Elizabeth Olsen and whether or not she is or is not done playing Scarlet Witch. Now, of course, the last time we saw her was in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and she came to her end. And then we talked a couple of weeks ago about the official Marvel book came out and stated that she died, that Scarlet Witch died in that, right? And that's kind of where we left off. However, there is now a story going around that they might be looking at doing a Scarlet Witch movie with the showrunner of WandaVision coming in to do it. Now, this comes to us from the folks over at CBR who wrote the following. As revealed in a post from Scarlet Witch Updates X, which cites insider Daniel Reichman as its source, Marvel Studios wants a Scarlet Witch project to be a movie, with the company considering WandaVision creator and showrunner, I never know how to pronounce her first name, I don't know if it's Jack or Joss or whatever, Schaefer, as director and writer for said movie. The rumor has been picking up steam, getting covered by various outlets. Currently, however, neither Marvel nor Disney have officially confirmed this claim, so it should be taken with a grain of salt. Okay. So I have two different trains of thought on this. Number one, Scarlet Witch, I believe Wanda had the single best character arc story in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. From her beginning and introduction in Age of Ultron to becoming a part of it, then all the problems and the things that came about, complications as a result of Civil War, her actions actually kind of causing the events of Civil War, then not being trusted, and then, then losing Vision again. They started to see her untap power, and then we get into the events of WandaVision, and she finds something like this character, this woman whose entire life has been about loss. Everything in her life has been about loss. Losing her family, then losing her brother, then losing Vision, then basically losing the Avengers themselves and losing Vision again, and then having the events of WandaVision, which I thought is still the best show that Disney Plus has ever made. And she's got to lose Vision again, twice in the same show, depending how you look at it, and finally had kids that, while they weren't real, they were real to her. At the end of it, she loses her kids. And I love, while some people got their underwear stuffed up their pucker over the fact that they didn't like that Wanda would break bad, I'm like, what are you talking about? This is a character that has taken major loss after major loss and after major loss and finally says, fuck it. I have more power than anybody. I'm going to do something for me. I want my kids. And what more noble thing is there than wanting to get your kids, even though the kids weren't real? And that turn, I thought was created one of the most fascinating character stories and character journeys. And it had a tragic ending, but still one of the most fascinating, wonderful stories that the MCU has ever done. To return to this character, I'd be lying if I didn't say I would have a great deal of interest in that. Not to mention Elizabeth Olsen is one of the great actresses in the world today. She's incredible. That said, I don't believe the report. I believe there's a couple things that stop this from being true. Number one, everything that Elizabeth Olsen has said in the last 6 months or so really does seem like she's done. She loved her time in the MCU, but she's now done. And she's done some extensive interviews, even talking about the fact that, lamenting that, hey, being in the MCU meant I had to take a pass on a lot of projects I was really passionate about, and I couldn't do them because I was contractually obligated to do MCU stuff. And she wasn't dissing MCU, she loved it, but she talked a lot about being free of it. Her time was done. And everything she's ever said, unlike Chris Evans, who has danced around, river dance style, around all answering everything, she's been kind of direct. The second problem is, with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, you evolved Wanda to a level of power that I don't know what you do with her anymore. Now, you can depower her and try to tell another interesting story around that, I suppose, but I just think she was a character that broke bad as a result of all the tragedy, and then kind of had a Vader ending. With her last act, she kind of redeemed herself. And I honestly think that's it. I think it's over. Now, I love that we get to go back to that world with Agatha and the Darkhold Diaries. Is that what it's called today? Or did they change it again?
Is Darkhold
Covenant,
Diaries
it was
or-
Covenant of Chaos?
It was Covenant of Chaos, and then I think it was
Darkhold
I'm gonna
Diaries?
look it up because they've changed it like twice.
Yeah, they've changed it several times. I think we're on Darkhold Diaries. We might have
I think
changed.
it's Covenant of Chaos.
No, I think that was the first one. I think that was the
Darkhold
first.
Diaries.
Darkhold
It is
yeah.
currently Darkhold Diaries. So
That's what I said.
Whatever he said.
that's what I said.
Same thing.
So we're going to get to go back to that and have a little bit of a taste of that. We're going to get to have witches and all that kind of stuff in the MCU. So while I will be open to it if it turns out to be true, and I don't know that it's not, I'm just saying right now, Chris, that I don't buy the report. I think we have seen the last of her, although I'll be open to it if she does. You heard this. You think there's any truth to it? Would it be a good move for Marvel to do? I don't know. How do you see this?
Well, she died.
Yeah, that's a big
She
thing.
died, and that was confirmed by the MCU's official timeline of her pulling the mountain down upon her, thus ending two of the greatest threats in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That being said, both in the comics and in the MCU, because of multiverses and magic and all kinds of fun things, death really doesn't matter.
It's the Marvel fake death cinematic
Exactly.
universe.
Yeah.
Yep.
No one's permadead. So she could come back. And she's a really great actress, so maybe she's really good at lying. She did that Moscow theater training and she was like, I've got this, guys. Don't you worry, Kevin. I can lie through my teeth. So maybe she could come back. But everything does point to her wanting to do more prestige films. And that's not to say the
and
MCU is not
auteur
prestigious.
things.
Yeah, but she wants to do, a lot of A24 kind of things. She wants to do things that she kind of cut her teeth on. She was an indie darling before she entered the MCU. She has an extensive stage background. So there's a whole bunch of other stuff that I'm sure she wants to dive into, that having a very rigorous both filming and training schedule. I know that Scarlet Witch isn't one of the characters who has to beef up a whole bunch, but still, when you're in these movies, it's a lot of physicality. That really cuts into your timetable. Plus, you usually are on location, so it really goes into your time as well doing other things. You have to be fully committed to this. And that's great. What a wonderful opportunity for you. But if it's something that you've been a part of for several years, I can understand wanting to move on. And I'm sure it would have to be, again, a really great project for her to want to put those other things on hold to come back. But I'd never say never.
But if you had to put $5 down on it now, are we going to see Scarlet Witch live action, not in the stupid what if? Are we going to see Scarlet Witch in the MCU again, do you think?
Secret Wars.
Really? You think that she will come back for that?
If they were going to bring her back, you could bring her back in that, just because everyone comes back in that.
Yeah, she's gonna come back.
You think so?
Oh, not her, not necessarily the actress, but that character is gonna come back.
Here's what's interesting, because this has always been a point of contention ever since they brought in Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, is comic book lineage. Because traditionally, I know they've retconned and they've made changes, I know, but traditionally, Pietro and Wanda are daughters of Magneto.
Yeah,
Yep.
Maximoff.
Right? They're daughters of Magneto. And guess who Marvel has control of again? The X-Men. So it creates some very interesting possibilities. I mean, listen, with them probably merging in different realities to create one reality and get rid of multiverse, it could very well be that we have a Scarlet Witch character that is not Elizabeth Olsen. It could be like a variant becomes now part of our world or something like that. But I think Elizabeth's done. I think she is. Again, that's just my guess, just guessing. So maybe I'll be wrong about that. We'll find out. All right, guys. That down. Let's move on to this, shall we? You know, there's a couple of Alien projects in the works. Of course, there's a movie project, I believe it's called Alien Romulus, that Fede Alvarez is directing.
Yep.
So that's getting some excitement and some buzz behind it. But did you also know there's an Alien TV series coming to FX? The series that's also, the network that's also bringing us my most anticipated show in a long time, Shogun. They also did Sons of Anarchy, one of my top 3 favorite shows of all time. Anyway, well, a major casting announcement was just broke. Timothy Olyphant is now joined that series. This comes from the folks at Coming Soon, who wrote the following. Acclaimed actor Timothy Olyphant was revealed to have joined the cast of Noah Hawley's. He was, of course, behind Legion, which a lot of people were very, very much liked. Upcoming Alien series. Deadline reported that the Deadwood lead will be starring opposite Sidney Chandler in the forthcoming show. No official details involving his character have been made known, but the outlet sources suggest that he is playing a synth named Kirsch, who serves as a mentor to Wendy, Chandler's metahuman character. This isn't Olyphant's first time working with effects, as the actor had previously played a recurring character in Argo Season 4. All right. So the first thing I should probably mention is I am really surprised there are 2 Alien projects coming. I don't know if anybody cares about aliens anymore. I don't mean aliens as in generic, UFO outer space. I mean the actual alien. When's the last time we had something that was good with Alien?
Aliens.
Aliens is pretty much it, right? Some people like Prometheus, and that's great. Yeah, I know. I know a number of people who like Prometheus. I think probably a lot of people watching the show right now like Prometheus. I mean,
it's a movie.
It's the first Alien thing I saw.
You can't.
Was that the first Alien thing you
Yeah.
saw? Was Prometheus?
Yeah.
Did you ever get around to watching Aliens?
No, I still haven't watched Aliens. I went and saw Alien at
Yeah.
Cinespia,
Okay.
and everyone made fun of me because I was genuinely terrified and kept screaming. And then I still need to see Aliens.
It's a terrifying movie.
Yeah.
Aliens
That's when it gets
is
all
a
like
very different kind
like
of
sci-fi
movie.
One-
action.
yeah,
right?
Yes,
Sci-fi
and one of the
horror to
greatest
sci-fi
sci-fi action
Yeah.
films of all time.
Alien.
Ooh, Aliens is fabulous.
Spooky.
You gotta watch it.
Okay.
It's so good. But I mean, Predator versus Alien,
Covenant.
Alien 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Covenant. What the hell was going on with Michael Fassbender in that? I don't know. I honestly, I just haven't felt a lot of people like, yeah, we need more Alien. But here we got it coming.
Yeah.
And
Listen,
some
if
stuff
Disney
looks,
can have a Disney princess show up somewhere, they're gunsta.
if there's a musical
What is a
number,
xenomorph if not?
I'm going to fall out of my seat. So we got the Fede Alvarez thing coming, but I'll tell you what. Listen, point me to a Timothy Olyphant show that has been garbage. I mean, Deadwood was amazing.
Yeah.
A ton of people like his, the one he did with Walton Goggins.
Justified.
Justified.
I mean,
Santa Clarita Diet.
oh,
That show was
I forgot he was in
amazing.
that.
I know some
That
people
show.
that lost their minds over that show.
I was furious when it got canceled. I wanted to flip every table I came across. That show was wonderful.
He even had an amazing guest appearance in The Good Place.
Yep.
Playing himself, which was just awesome.
He was on The Office.
He's great.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
that's
he was
right.
on
That's right.
Danny.
The one they tried to hire away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's magnificent. I absolutely love the guy. And him joining this makes me go from, why are they making that show, to, okay, I'll check that show out. I'm kind of interested. Chris, we're now hearing that Timothy Olyphant joined this Alien series. Did you even know this series existed before this story came
I
out?
did know this series existed because my friend works for Disney. So
Oh, there's that.
I did know that part. I mean, I'll watch anything with him. I love him. He's great. I have nothing else to say. When he was that bounty hunter in The Mandalorian, hi, what's that?
He was so good in that
He's
too.
so good. So good, so cute.
He was one of the best parts of that season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought he was really good in that. Anyway, one casting, it's amazing. Can take you from being not interested in a series. Suddenly, I'm really kind of curious into seeing what he does in this. So I'm looking forward to it. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to this, shall we? There's been a lot of drama surrounding Marvel's Avengers Kang Dynasty.
I must have been missing that. I don't.
Is Jonathan Majors going to be in jail? Will they continue on with the Kang storyline? As some reports are saying, are they even going to change the name of that movie altogether? Then the writer they had attached to it, Jeff Loveness, he's gone. They're going to need a new writer. Well, that happens to be the topic of today's Mint Mobile Hotline Question of the Day. Listen, guys, if you've got a topic or a question for our show and you'd like to hear your voice on it, go ahead and call our Mint Mobile hotline anytime, 24/7 at 951-268-4259. And today's is about a new writer for Kang Dynasty. Check it out.
Hey, John and crew, it's Logan from Massachusetts. I now have just read that Michael Waldron, who also wrote The Multiverse of Madness and Loki for Marvel, will be writing both Avengers movies coming up. Do you think this is a good thing, since both of those projects were relatively good? Or do you think we still have reason to be concerned? Thanks, and bring on the filthy.
All right, man. Thanks a lot for sending that in. It was a short while ago after we found out that Jeff Loveness had officially left that a report came out that Kevin Feige kind of wanted to change direction a little bit and have one writer for Avengers Kang Dynasty and Avengers Secret Wars, which made sense, right? They've done that formula before with great success. Now, that started the rumor and the report going around that it's probably going to be Michael Waldron. Well, yesterday it became official. Michael Waldron is now doing it. This comes just from the folks over at Deadline who wrote the following. They said, exclusive, Michael Waldron has been tapped to write Marvel Studios' Avengers Kang Dynasty. Waldron had already been set to write Avengers Secret Wars, the installment that would follow Avengers the Kang Dynasty, and will now write both Avengers sequels. Waldron has become one of Marvel's most trusted creative minds, having previously created and served as showrunner for season 1 of Loki, as well as writing Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And the move makes sense to the studio to have him pen both films. Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige will produce. All right. Now, as of right now, Kang Dynasty still doesn't have a director because, of course, Destin had left, the director of Shang-Chi, to focus on, I believe, Wonder Man.
Yep.
Wonder Man and
Shang-Chi 2.
Yeah.
So he's going to go and focus on those Marvel projects. And right now they don't have a director for Kang Dynasty. Our caller asked, is this something we should be concerned about? I'm not going to lie to you. I am a little bit concerned. Dexter, that's his real name. Michael Waldron is simply his secret identity because that's Dexter. You can't convince me that's not Dexter. Anyway, Michael Waldron wrote Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, a movie I did not hate, but it had some real story issues with it, some questionable writing. I was not a big fan of Loki season 1. Like, in general, I liked it. In a world of did I like it or did I not like it, I liked it, but as one of my favorite MCU characters, I was kind of disappointed with season 1. Season 2 was an improvement. It was a definite improvement. I really liked season 2. But I'm looking at this and I'm like, outside of that, he doesn't have a lot of writing experience. I mean, he did some, what's his name in Marty?
Rick and Morty?
Rick and Morty, not Marty. He did.
Rick and Morty.
He wrote a bunch on Rick and Morty, but I mean, so did Jeff Loveness, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that didn't turn out great. And he doesn't have a lot of credits outside of that. And I'm not trying to crap on Michael Waldron, right? Like, I hope he continues to write. But is this the guy that's ready? Is to put it in boxing terms, Ray, a guy who had a couple of mediocre fights gets the next heavyweight championship title shot? Because that's what this is. I mean, this is the biggest stage there is. This is the guy that's going to be directing or writing the story for Avengers Kang Dynasty. So I'm going to say this. I'm not writing it off, but I'm concerned. Okay, let's just say that. I'm not trashing on the decision. I'll just say I'm a little worried about it. I don't know that I have a lot of confidence in this, but maybe this will be one of those things that wins me over.
The changes in writers has nothing compared to the Blade changes in writers.
Well, no, that's true too.
So this is nothing new to me. I've been through it. I'm going through it right now.
Yeah, but you know what? You know what? Here's the thing though. Right before the writer strike happened, day or two before the writer strike happened, with all the writer changes, you know what they landed on? An Academy Award winning writer. That's what Blade landed on. They landed on an Academy Award winning writer, if memory serves me correct. And Avengers is landing on Michael Waldron. Now, listen, clearly, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Kevin Feige clearly has a lot of belief in this guy for whatever reason, because I believe Michael Waldron was going to be the writer for Kevin Feige's Star Wars film, if I'm not mistaken. So Kevin, if I'm not incorrect about that, I mean, Kevin's clearly really likes this guy.
Yep.
Really likes him. And I'm just saying he must be seeing things that I don't, because listen, I wouldn't be complaining if he was brought on to write another Marvel film. I'm like, oh, okay, Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness, didn't love it, but it had its upside. Let's see what we can do next. I just question giving this guy the big show. This is WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Like this is.
Yeah, but WrestleMania still gives us Roman Reigns as our big thing at the end.
Well, that's
so,
true,
I mean,
too.
Come on.
I do like that it's the same writer for both of them.
I like that move too. In principle, I like that
Yeah.
as well. I just don't know that he's the guy to be doing both of these.
I like that connected tissue there, and I like the idea of moving from Loki to this as well, because that really was our introduction to Kang, our
makes
lead into
sense.
that. I think you're also able to how the way that season 2 ended, I think makes it so you have a lot of leniency with what you do with Kang as well. So depending on how things go, they can kind of bob and weave and do some things. But I like that through line of all three of them being him, as long as they're good. I liked the quality of season 2.
It seems
Yeah,
like
but
a-
I don't think I don't think Waldron was as involved in season 2 as he was in season 1. So
there's so many rules and guidelines that these writers have to stay within. It's like it's such a daunting task, especially when you add the multiverse to it. If there's going to be elements of that, I don't envy anyone who has this job of making sure everything fits the way Kevin Feige wants everything to fit. So,
well, and let's not forget that there was like some from the major trades reports coming out not long ago that Marvel was going to be moving away from Kang. So it could very well be that what we are now calling Avengers Kang Dynasty, and this scene went over like a lead balloon with a lot of people, that what we are now calling Kang Dynasty may not actually be called. We might find out in a couple of weeks that Avengers 5 is not called Avengers Kang Dynasty anymore.
Serpent Society.
They're finally bringing back Serpent Society. That's what they're finally going to do. So it might signal entirely new change of direction. I mean, who knows? And again, I am not sitting here saying, that's it, the next Avengers movie's going to suck now. I'm not. I'm going to give Kevin Feige the benefit of the doubt. He clearly believes a lot in this guy. If I'm going to be honest, I'm a little concerned. That's all.
And also, if it is going to stay Kang Dynasty, then we could probably say that Marvel is prepared to replace the role or recast the role, just because they probably thought of the worst possible situation that could happen with Jonathan Majors. And if they still go on and do this story arc, then can we just say that, oh yeah, they're going to recast that role?
Not necessarily.
No?
Not necessarily. I mean, I think if they keep going with the Kang character, I mean, look, if Jonathan, we have no idea what's going to happen. I think we have to presume innocence and all that kind of stuff. I'm just saying, if theoretically, in the worst case scenario, Jonathan Majors ends up in jail, well, then they're going to have no choice but to recast. I just don't know that they're even planning on moving forward with Kang. Because again, when you look at the end of Loki season 2, you can easily say, well, that ended the Kang storyline. They ended Loki season 2 with, Mobius and the others saying the TVA is now just about hunting down the Kang variants. Mobius holding for, yeah, well, there's this one, just took care of this one, boom. And that theoretically you could say that was the end of the Kang storyline if they want to. They could also continue on with Kang if they want, but I'm just still curious to find out if they're going to move forward with Kang at all, or if it's going to be Doom.
Oh yeah, well, they have enough time to build a new villain.
Well, Doom doesn't, I mean, this one's not supposed to come out till 2026. So they've got plenty of time, right? And let's not forget, you don't need 3 movies to introduce a villain before he's the villain in the main thing. We had never heard of Darth Vader before the first Star Wars movie, right? And all of a sudden, boom, there he is, greatest villain. We had never heard of, Hans Gruber before. They didn't need one or two movies to build up Hans Gruber before they made this Die Hard movie. No, they brought him in, boom, he's one of the greatest cinematic villains of all time. You can do that with Doom. You don't have to have a 2 or 3 movie build up to Doom. So they got plenty of time to do that if they want to go with Doom. And I'm not convinced they are, but they could. Mm-hmm. But again, this one change in writer brings up a lot of interesting questions. Again, now that the writer is doing both films, that means they're going to change story direction. Are they going to continue with the Kang? Are they not? I don't know. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how things evolve. I do know this. I think by February or March, we're going to get a lot of announcements. And we'll see where this all goes. All right, guys. With that all down, we're now going to move on and take your thoughts, theories, points of views, opinions, and questions. You guys have been firing in questions. We're going to get to those. But before we get to those things, we're going to take another quick moment here and thank another sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, my mobile service provider, and they should be yours, Mint Mobile. Guys, we want to take a moment and thank a sponsor of today's video, Mint Mobile. Give yourself the gift of insane savings this holiday season with Mint Mobile's best wireless deal of the year. Right now, when you switch to Mint Mobile and buy any 3-month plan, you'll get another 3 months for free. That's 6 months of premium wireless service for the price of 3. And Mint Mobile lets you order and activate from home while saving tons on phone plans starting at just $15 a month. Seriously, I can't think of a better gift than turning an overpriced wireless bill into just $15 a month with Mint Mobile. I've told you guys many times, since switching to Mint Mobile, I am spending less than a third on my mobile service plan with Mint than I was on the previous big carrier who was my provider. By going online only and eliminating the traditional cost of retail, Mint Mobile passes the significant savings on to you. All plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and switch easily and effortlessly with eSIM. So again, for a limited time, buy any 3-month Mint Mobile plan and get 3 more months free by going to mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at Mint Mobile for being the sponsor of the John Campea Show podcast. Okay, guys, with that down, let's get over to your questions you guys have been firing in. Chris, what do we got up here first?
From Svane86, currently watching season 3 of What We Do in the Shadows. I don't know why, but Laszlo accidentally swallowing a harmonica made me laugh way too hard.
Laszlo is simply one of the funniest characters ever to be on a TV screen. All of them are. All of them are. Whether the Nandor, did you see the one episode where Nandor is being interviewed by a TV reporter in the street? Yeah. And say, and who are you, sir? I am Nandor the Relentless. And they put his name on, Nandor De Laurentiis. I don't know. But every character in What We Do in the Shadows is so freaking funny. Laszlo is no thing. Yeah, listen, I wish I've never seen that show so I could watch it for the first time again. I love this show dearly, absolutely passionate. I'm glad you're getting on it as well. All right, what's next?
From Kyle Schneider. Last night's mystery screening at AMC and Regal was American Fiction, and it was great. It's a hilarious satire with great characters. Highly recommend.
You know what? Somebody wrote to me last night to tell me it was that. I'm shocked because I was 95% convinced that the AMC Screen Unseen was going to be Silent Night with Joel Kinnaman. The John Woo style, murder, violent, hyper
so
thing.
Happy, wasn't it?
I really thought that, and I'm glad I didn't go because Ann and I almost canceled our plans last night so we could go to that because I'm kind of excited to see this movie. Mm-hmm. And I was almost 100% convinced it was going to be that, and it wasn't. So
I've been so mad.
I would have been so mad if I broke my plans to go just to see that movie. I would have been upset.
I thought it was going to be Godzilla -1 because it was like a movie at a 2-hour and 4-minute runtime, and went, oh, okay.
But is Godzilla -1 rated R?
I don't think it is.
I don't think it is. And this movie,
it
advertised that the
okay.
movie was going to be rated R, which Silent Night is. So I thought it was going to be that.
Rated R for raw.
Rated R for Ray. All right, what's next?
From Kyle Schneider again. These mystery screenings have a pattern, and it's never a movie that comes out later than a week. Next one is PG on December 11th, so it's Migration. In theory.
Well, it's hard to apply the term pattern with 2. Mm-hmm. Pattern is usually something you start using after 4 or 5 or 6. So I wouldn't say, because, Regal had their secret screenings, and they have definitely done secret screenings where the movie was more than a week away. So That has been the case so far, but again, I don't think yet we can apply the term pattern after 2. Let's let a few more come before we start describing that. All right, what's next?
From Luke1234, as a YouTuber, do you see any benefit to showing your face as opposed to a still image covering the topic you're talking about?
You know, this is a big topic in the world of YouTubing right now. There's a number of faceless YouTube channels that pop up. A lot of them use AI to actually write a random topic of a script and then just use images and put up a video.
I hate those when it's like auto narrated.
Yeah.
I hate those.
Yeah. So, but I mean, there's no denying they have some effects. They do get some results. So that's become a very big thing. A lot of people want to jump on that and use that. And then, by the way, there's also some really good, very personal YouTube channels where the host of that channel just never shows their face.
Yeah. But they're narrating it. It's
there's
their
a couple of
voice.
video
as
games.
opposed to in Kang Dynasty, there are 3 different actors coming.
Yeah.
But there's a couple, these 2 guys, I'm trying to remember the name of the channel. I've watched a bunch of their videos and I can't remember the name of the channel, but there are these 2 guys and they never show their face talking about video games. They just have like little caricatures of them that pop up. Right. I think there are some advantages to that. I don't do with us on camera for any particular reason other than I've always wanted my show, and I've either been successful or not, but I've always wanted my show to feel very personal and to feel like whether you're in the room with us or whether you're watching at home, that we are all having this conversation together. And it's a very personal, intimate sort of thing. Now, that doesn't mean that's the most successful way to do it. So it all depends on what it is your goal is. What is your goal for your channel? What do you want to do? For the stuff that I like to do and that I want, I think it's important that even though I have a face made for radio, I think it's important that we actually be on camera because it just creates more of a connection. But not every channel needs to have that. They may have other needs. So it's going to be interesting to see how this whole fad kind of plays out. By the way, YouTube has apparently started to make some rules against AI generated content. But again, that's going to be interesting to see how that kind of evolves as well. All right, what's next?
From John Lee, Invincible Season 2 has been great. Chris, have you seen the show? If so, what do you think of the voiceover work? Steven and Sandra are so good. I haven't seen Season 2 yet. I need to. I have so many things I need to watch, you guys, but I'm in Christmas mode, so I'm watching terrible Christmas movies. That's where I'm at right now. The voice acting, for the most part, I think is good. What's interesting on that show is they don't do a lot of what's called plussing. There's not a lot of breath work and things like that until you get to certain fights. Steven's wonderful on it. Sandra's wonderful on it. Of course, J.K. Simmons is like a VO goat. He crushes it on it. So yeah, I like it.
I gotta say, I'm not loving season 2 so far.
Really?
I'm not hating it either. Like I'm
Okay.
not disliking it. Like I'm still watching every episode. It just hasn't. It doesn't have that X factor that I think season 1 had for me. It feels a little bit more disjointed. I'm liking it, but I'm not liking it nearly as much as season 1 so far.
Had you read the comics going into it? Like, did you
No.
know the twist?
Nope.
Oh, okay, cool.
No, I purposefully didn't. Like I had read a bit of it, and then somebody told me, you know what, you probably shouldn't read anymore. I'm like, okay, and so we'll see. I don't know.
Nice.
Hopefully
Okay.
the season will turn around for me.
Sweet.
All right, what's next?
From Jeffrey Pemberton. Chris, what did you think of the new Doctor Who episode? I quite liked it. John, would you consider tuning into the new series on Disney Plus next year? I loved the Doctor Who special. I thought it was really, really well done, and I'm so excited that there's 2 more. Donna Noble's back. Come on, and 10? Oh my gosh, so skinny you could get a paper cut if you hug him. Love it. Wonderful.
No, I'm not interested in Doctor Who. Doctor Who to me is a lot like learning Mandarin Chinese. I would have needed to start it a long time ago. At this point, it feels like it's far too late. So I don't have any. And again, I'm not crap talking Doctor Who. I've not watched it to crap talk. I'm just saying it doesn't appeal to me, and it's already been on for so long and has had so many things going on. It's like at this point, I think that train for me has left the station. All right, what's next?
From Seconds from Disaster, I think Chris Evans misses the role, and he's subtly saying, "Someone write something amazing so I can come back."
I think it's true in life in general. And because of that, I think it's true very much in the world of movies. I think it is absolutely possible for an actor, writer or director too, but for an actor to have insane success at something and really feel the itch to move on from it. And then once they do move on from it, to go, that was pretty good. I had it pretty good. I remember when Vin Diesel said he was done with Fast and the Furious? Oh yeah, well then he realized he had it pretty good. Sylvester Stallone at one point said he was done with Rocky. That was about 5 Rocky appearances ago. At one point he said, okay, now I'm done with Rambo. Well, then he went back and did Rambo 1 or 2 more times. Jay-Z said he was retired from making albums. I went back to Steven Soderbergh said he was done directing, went back and he's directed like 8 films since. It's just that I think you need some time to get away from something, do some other things. Then you start to realize how good you had it. And not that it was bad to step away. It was probably good to step away, but you kind of feel your heart wanting to go back. Like anybody who's had success in the MCU, they are never going to have bigger success in their careers. I mean, that's just a fact. Robert Downey Jr., as great as Robert Downey Jr. is, he will never do anything in his career that will be as big as successful as playing Tony Stark. Chris Evans, who I'm sure is going to go on to do amazing things. I love Chris Evans, but I think it is a fact that he will never do anything as big or successful as his run as Captain America. Chris Hemsworth is magnificent. He'll never be in anything that will be as popular and as successful and as big for him as playing Thor. It's just the reality. And there's an appeal to that. And so, sure, I think there comes a time that you're going to want to get away from it so you can do other things. But at some point, you're going to want to come back. It's just, it's like all my ex-girlfriends. Like they just, at some point, they all want to get back on that Giovanni train.
Oh.
Hey, what's next?
Hey, let's move on. All right. What's next?
From TJ Perry, Horizon Zero Dawn / God of War mega fan here. Fallout news has me so pumped. Can't wait to see how they visualize Horizon's cyber indigenous aesthetic.
Look, with every one of these things that come out and is actually good, and let's not get ahead of ourselves. There still hasn't been many. On a 50-to-1 scale, they've been crap, but we've been seeing a couple of good ones lately. And every time a good one comes out, or even a trailer or images come out and look good, it gets people very excited about their favorite games, possibly getting a big screen treatment as well. So, and we'll see again, if this Fallout can actually be good, if God of War, most importantly, ends up being good, we could see like floodgates open again. All right, what's next?
Sorry.
From Christ Courage, I wore a bow tie, was a Scotsman, and then I was a woman, but why this face again? The Doctor. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna try
that didn't do
Doctor
anything
Who?
to sell me on
Doctor
watching
Who.
the show. You know what? I will say that. One of the great things about the lore of Doctor Who is that as a Time Lord and the type of being, he has different manifestations all the time. I actually really like that about the lore. So
It's
I think it's
very
pretty
cool.
All right, what's next?
From Richard, for those who like to crap on Ray for liking Moonfall, you should try the book of the same name by Javik McDevitt. It's different but better. Well, that's a very low bar.
Yeah, it's different, but better.
Also,
It's better.
no one's crapping on Ray for liking Moonfall.
No.
Ray didn't like Moonfall.
Yeah, we're crapping on Moonfall.
Ray wanted to like
Yeah.
Moonfall. Yeah, he did, in fact, did not like Moonfall.
But if I have to
was
sit down and
beautifully hopeful.
read
Yeah.
Moonfall, the book, it better be a lot better than the movie.
Serious.
I'm telling you though, it was my comedy of the year that year.
It was my comedy of the year.
I was laughing.
All right, what's next?
From Andy, Aquaman 2 should be about Kanye West finding out how much he loves fish sticks, like in South Park.
The fish sticks.
Only somebody who saw the episode would
Yep.
clearly get
Oh
that.
my god.
All right, what's next?
Let's see. We did oh here.
Another one from Andy. Frozen came out exactly 10 years ago yesterday.
No. Is that true?
Mm-hmm.
Did you turn into your Thor voice right there, Jane?
Jane?
Man.
It's one of the greatest cinematic moments in history. No.
We opened up Disney Plus yesterday, and it had the 10-year anniversary of Frozen, and Logan went, I will kill myself.
Oh, okay.
Which
hold
means-
on. Thanks
We're
for
old.
reminding
Go
me.
ahead, go ahead.
Thanks for reminding me. I watched Paw Patrol yesterday because it was on
the,
Paramount.
the movie it came out?
It was kind of adorable.
He's a secret
It
Paw
was
Patrol
kind of
fan.
adorable. I'm not gonna lie.
Did you like them having superpowers?
That was my first exposure. to
He'd never seen them without
Powers.
superpowers.
Paw powers?
I don't know. It looked
I thought it
lame.
was.
Fighting
it
the
was
mean,
okay.
rough streets of crime.
Yeah.
Rough streets
of crime. Yeah.
All right, what's next?
From Andy again. I'm excited for a new Bourne movie, but not because it's another Bourne movie, but because I can't wait to see how Jimmy Kimmel will make fun of Matt Damon.
Tell you what, only second to the Hugh Jackman Ryan Reynolds rivalry is the Jimmy Kimmel Matt Damon thing. It's been some of the best stuff ever. Even when they went to the Oscars and Kimmel's hosting the Oscars,
yeah.
they have done some great bits. And actually, that's where one of the great like fun songs has come from. I'm Fucking Matt Damon. By what was the name of Kimmel's ex-girlfriend?
Sarah
Silverman.
Silverman.
Yeah, so where Sarah Silverman, they did this bit. Have you heard the song?
No.
Oh, you got to look it up on YouTube and watch the video.
If I search I'm fucking Matt Damon, what's going to come up? What? Do I need to safe search?
Nothing Japanese, I promise. Okay. No, it's really funny. It's really good. It's one of the best things ever. All right, what's next?
I'll look that up later. Bobby Jackson.
That's someone else's computer.
With all the talk of actors returning to the MCU, will they never replace the actors to play characters even if story calls for it?
I think they will. Eventually, I mean, listen, time will dictate that at some point. You know, listen, Captain America has been a character that's been around for 8 decades. You just have to draw him. It's fine. But at some point, actors won't be able to play a role anymore, and you'll still want to use the character. So, yeah, they will at some point. Listen, the MCU has already done some recasting. War Machine Rhodey did not start off as Don Cheadle. I don't know if some of you know that. Don Cheadle did not always play War Machine. Somebody else did.
But he showed up. It was him. We got over it.
Yep, that's right. It's me. I'm here. Get over it. Or move on. John Krasinski of the was it Fandral? Was that the name of his Warriors 3 character?
Yeah.
Not John Krasinski. Sorry,
Zachary Levi.
Zachary Levi wasn't the character. Then he was the character. I mean, they swapped. I mean, so they will recast when it calls for it. All right, what's next?
From Patrick Hamilton, will you be seeing and doing an out-of-theater review for John Woo's next action movie, Silent Night, this weekend?
Yeah, I'm actually, like I said, Ann and I almost canceled our plans last night. And we had plans out of town. So that's how serious I am about wanting to see this movie. When I thought it was going to be the screen unseen at AMC, we almost canceled our plans. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It looks like a lot of fun. All right, what's next?
From Luis Enrique de la Peña, I always thought Kang Dynasty was going to be the first Avengers where they form the team for the first time. How's that going to work now?
Well, we'll explain it.
I'm glad you asked. I
Take it away,
wanted to tell
Jonathan.
you how this is all
all
going
day,
to work.
so.
Here's the thing. I think that there is still over 3.5 years between now and when the next Avengers movie. And, you know, one of the big complaints that Rob often has is that, and he brings this up all this time, and he's right. We don't even know who the Avengers are right now. We know that Wanda's not on the lunchbox. Doctor Strange isn't in the Avengers. So, like, Hulk is hanging out at barbecues now. Black Widow's dead. Steve's gone, theoretically. Tony's gone, theoretically. I mean, who's even an Avenger anymore? I think Captain Marvel is, but I mean, I just don't know who else. But there's a lot of time still between now and when the next Avengers movie comes out for them to kind of establish who is in the Avengers or not. I don't think Kang Dynasty will be the reforming of a new team. I think we're going to kind of have that idea. Again, I'm just speculating and guessing, but I think they're going to constitute the team prior to that happening. But
This is basically the lunchbox they sell to kids now in the MCU. They're like, yeah, it's the Avengers. You don't need to know who's in it.
that was 1963. All right, what's next?
From Max Newmark, sending in a $24 super chat. Thank you, Max.
Thank you, Max.
Looking forward to Percy Jackson series. Being dyslexic, I like that Percy and the demigods are dyslexic. Rorden's son is dyslexic. That's why Percy and the demigods are. I'd love to have more neurodiverse characters in film and TV.
I have always some people made a big deal out of that before. And I always really kind of enjoy it when our main protagonists have normal human frailties or issues or problems or obstacles and stuff like that. And I kind of really like that they did that. Actually, it was one of the things that I really loved about, and they're two different things. But remember the Ben Affleck movie, The Accountant?
Yeah.
That John Bernthal was in? First of all, I love that movie. but the fact that he was
I
had
believe he was autistic.
high functioning autism.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I that just gave such an interesting angle to the movie that I really liked. It's part of the reason why I was interested in the Echo character at first. It's like a character in the MCU that's deaf. This is awesome. And also is an amputee. This is going to be really cool. Then I didn't like what they did with the character, unfortunately. We'll see if the new show can be good. But yeah, I like it when they do stuff like that. All right, what's next?
From Emilio. Been rewatching Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame, and I find myself cheering at home alone as if I was still in the theater. Man, I miss those big events.
You know, somebody, I can't remember if it was Open Micer here on the main show, but one of our viewers wrote in and basically said, like, I would kill to go back just not that many years ago to when we loved going to Marvel movies. Like, every time it was something special and amazing in those moments. Like, I didn't, Endgame is not in my top 5 favorite MCU films, but I really enjoyed it a lot. But it's got one of the greatest moments in history. Cap tightening up his broken shield, getting ready to face off against Thanos and his legions all by himself. And then the little crackle over the earpiece saying, "On your left." And the portals open and Silvestri score, ba, 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 and every single freaking hero walks through the portal.
I sat next to Ray. I thought he was going to start jumping up and down. He left his seat. He literally left his seat.
You know who
I'm
didn't
like,
walk
"Sit
out
down,
of the
man,
portal?
sit down."
Blade.
But by the way, you've seen that YouTube video where somebody took that scene and edited it and had like every superhero character from even the A-Team came walking through
I've
the
seen that.
portal. Oh my God, that video is so funny.
That's the director cut right there.
But
Yeah.
I mean, it's great. Or Infinity War. Now, I'm a major, like, Steve Rogers is my favorite character in the MCU. When in Infinity War, in the first part of the movie, and a couple of the Black Order are hunting down Vision and Wanda, and then all of a sudden, boom, Proxima Midnight gets hit in the head with the shield, and the camera cuts, train goes by, dark shadow, and stepping out of the shadow is a bearded, gruff Steve Rogers. That is a guy who's had some questionable sex because he's all rough now, right? He's like, "Rrr," and he blacked out a star on his
What do you
chest.
think happens in sex?
Guys, stop
Make
reading
him
my
grow
fan
dirty
fiction.
beards.
It's private. It's
there
just
extra
for me.
Yeah, delete these, but I'm telling you, man, those are the days. Civil War. When the two sides are facing off and all of a sudden a web comes out of nowhere,
Does he need
pulls
a
cap
towel?
shield, and Spider-Man is that? I mean, what happened to those days? More questionable sex.
Yeah. Avengers, questionable sex.
Avengers, questionable sex. Bravely fighting against STDs
Yeah.
in the Marvel
Dynasty.
Cinematic Universe. All right.
No matter what we
next?
do, it keeps spreading.
From Kayak. I was not ready for the camera to be on me after that joke.
It should always be on you.
My ass fell out of my face. Kayak says, "Me and my friends used to play D&D as kids, but as adults ended up in different cities. Now we can share an adventure in Forgotten Realms once again, the power of Baldur's Gate 3. Glorious game."
Best game ever made, man. And by the way, I remember when the pandemic hit, we started playing D&D just over Zoom. We played the game. I put a camera over the board. Had a lot of fun doing that. And yeah. By the way, guys at home, try playing actual tabletop D&D. It's going to be one of the most fun things you guys can do as a group. All right. Avengers, itchy crotch. Okay, what's next?
No. From Zeus. "Hello, John and crew. I hope y'all are well. My friend and I saw the Grand Budapest Hotel for
Nice.
our weekly
nice,
movie
yeah.
night last night. What a delightful and amazing film. Definitely my new favorite. Ray Fiennes role and any other Wes Anderson films we should watch, excluding Mr. Fox and Isle of Dogs. Thanks to Bring on the Filthy."
That's my second favorite. My
Mr.
top
Fox?
one
Mr.
is
Fox?
Darjeeling Limited,
Ooh.
where they're on the train, the three brothers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great one.
I was not a big fan of the Isle of Dogs, honestly, and I say that as a dog guy. The Royal Tenenbaums.
I know. You can't go wrong with Royal
Royal
Tenenbaums.
I
That's great.
love Royal Tenenbaums.
I would almost say that should be your next one.
Yeah, Moonrise Kingdom is really good
Yep,
too.
that's also a really
Yeah.
good one.
And then I would say
Darling.
Life Aquatic.
Yes.
Oh, Steve
yeah.
Zissou.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
From Max New. Oh, wait, we did this, didn't we?
Oh.
Yeah,
Sorry.
other guy.
This one.
There we go. From Chef Rigo.
Chef Rigo.
Oh,
Saw Logan for the first time since it was in theaters, and man, what a movie. I just loved how vulnerable Logan was here. Had he been his full 100% self, the movie would have been over in the first act, LOL.
I still remember the first time, I think the very first time we saw it, me and Jeremy Johns went to go see it. And I remember we both came out of the theater and we were just like jaws open, like, what did we just watch? Like that. Cause it wasn't just a great comic book movie. It was a cinematic masterpiece. That movie to me is a top 3 greatest comic book movie of all time. First comic book movie in history to be nominated for Best Screenplay at the Academy Awards. Patrick Stewart, and I'm not just saying this as a fan of comic book films, Patrick Stewart legitimately should have been nominated for Best Supporting Actor at the Oscars that year.
Absolutely.
He 100% should have been nominated for that. At any rate, the movie is a freaking masterpiece of the genre. It's absolutely unbelievable. Still one of the best it's ever been made. And it just keeps getting better. Every time I watch it, it's just better and better and better every single time. All right, what's next?
From Majork25, like Wanda said, you break the rules and become the hero. I become the enemy. That doesn't seem fair. That line was scary to me.
That, first of all, the line is good. It's a good line, all right? It's a good line. It's made insanely good by the performance and the delivery. That doesn't seem fair. Like, just, it's the way she says it and the way she cocks her head and then kind of side eyes the dude. It's like, it's all this. It's one of those things I often talk about, actresses or actors, they can be fine in something, but sometimes you hear me say, but they don't have the ability to elevate the material, right? That is a scene that is a great example of an actor elevating the material. Because like I said, it's a good line, but it's okay. It's really, just think about it in terms. You break the rules, you become a hero. I break the rules, I'm the enemy. That doesn't seem fair. Oh, that sounds almost kind of cliche-ish, but the way she plays that line, it is terrifying and awesome. And yeah, it's a terrific, terrific delivery. All right, what's next?
From Carmelo Smith, John, which one of these 3 films would you watch again? Morbius, Dark Phoenix, or New Mutants?
Dark Phoenix. Easily Dark Phoenix. Dark Phoenix was not a great X-Men film. Okay. And there's a lot of bad in it, but I still contend to this day, and nobody gives it credit because it's a bad movie, right? It's a bad movie. The train sequence in Dark Phoenix, I believe, is a top 10 best overall action sequence in comic book movies. It's a bad film. Yes. But that train sequence is beautifully put together. The action was great. The way they shot it, the cinematography, the shot selections were great. You felt the drama in it. You felt tension. It was exciting. It was a really good thing. And I would watch that movie again just to watch that action sequence again. All right, let's do 2 more. What's next?
All right.
From Amin,
That's it. Yeah.
Okay. From Amin, other than the pandemic years, 2020 and 2021, this is the first year since 2014 that Disney isn't going to have at least one film in the $1 billion club.
Well, now hold on. Wish could surge. That was a joke. Wishing.
wow.
I mean, I don't know even if they had a lot that had the potential. I mean, no. The one film they had this year that had the potential to be a $1 billion film, I think, was Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Going into it, that theater. Now, the things going against it is none of the other Ant-Man films have ever gotten close to $1 billion, sure. But, you had, the pandemic was over. It's got Kang as the center of it. And what did it end up making? It was only like 400 or 500 million, wasn't it?
Check that out.
Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. So it wasn't. So I don't think the Marvels was ever going to make $1 billion. I thought it could make like 700, 800, but yeah, it's the long, absolute, complete, ridiculous dominance of Disney at the box office was brought to a halt this year.
476.
Say 476. Yeah, that kind of said it all. All right, last question of the day. What's next?
From Culture Wars Diplomacy. Back in the day, or now what is a random video store, back in the day or now, what is a random video store pick or random streaming film or series you thought, what is this, and was glad you watched it? So it was some random thing you picked up or streamed and watched and went, oh, I'm glad I watched this thing.
It's kind of funny you ask, because Ray and I were just talking about this movie the other day. It was before it kind of became a cult classic. And me and some friends were in a Rogers video in Toronto, Ontario. And Battle Royale was on the shelf.
Oh, wow.
And I had not yet heard of it. It's just just a bunch of, like a school picture of a bunch of kids on the thing. And this one picture of this little girl with this crazy look in her eye holding a doll. I'm like, what's this? And my buddy goes, oh, I think I've heard of this. I've heard it's pretty violent, but it's supposed to be pretty good. And we're like, all right, well, let's grab it. I think it was one of those Wednesday 5 movies for $5 deal sort of thing. So we picked up one of them. That is one of them. And went home and watched it later that night and was blown away. And that is where things like Hunger Games comes from. If you guys haven't watched Battle Royale, you got good morning, students. It is a wonderful day for killing. You got to watch Battle Royale. It's the movie that started this whole thing.
I guess mine was just because of the title, Idiocracy.
No, that was great.
I was like, this looks like it could be good, so I picked that up.
With we were just talking about his movies. One of his favorite guys to use is Luke Wilson.
Did you ever see Equilibrium with Christian Bale?
Yep.
That was one for me. I was like, okay, we could rent this. Like, what is this? And I liked it a lot.
Oh, one other one. You've heard me mention this movie before. Shaolin versus Lama. My all-time favorite kung fu movie. It's so bad, but it's so funny and so great, where the villain kills himself at the end by slapping himself in the forehead repeatedly, saying, I must die to prove Buddha exists. Which, if you're wondering how that ties into the story of the movie, it doesn't. That is not something that's relevant at all to the movie and was just kind of words that came out of his mouth. But he kills himself, because so he's slapping himself in the head and blood starts spurting out of his mouth. It's like, it's the craziest movie ever. Shaolin versus Lama. Watch it if you can.
You know, it's way different than what I thought, because I like space stuff. I was like, Emmanuel in space, this has to be real great.
What are you talking about?
The movie.
Emmanuel in space?
Just kidding.
Oh, God. I was going to say, what the hell is that?
No, you didn't get that reference.
I didn't get the reference.
There was like a Cinemax series, a Skinemax series where Emmanuel.
We didn't have Skinemax.
I think there was
in
one that was called Emmanuel in Space, and me and my friends used to joke about it all the time.
Sex Court TV.
Forget it.
And guys, that'll do it for today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here, making this show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in those questions. Number one, because you gave us fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it. And all of us involved with the show, thank you guys so very much for your support. Have itchy crotch? Make sure you go have a doctor check that out. I want to thank everybody in the room joining me. We got Ray Ora, Jonathan Voico.
Sorry, it's just itchy. Nothing.
Chris Carr. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.
Anyone else have an itch?
What is this show?